Hello and welcome to UK Versus. Today we are talking about Attack on Titan Battle for Humanity and the recent article by Bill Stark. I do have a bit of a cough, but I will try to catch myself so I'm not doing it too much. But yeah, luckily for me, I was working on a video, a meme video about this before everything went down, and I was able to kind of get that video out in conjunction with the article, but it didn't explain anything. And some people interpret it as me doom saying that we were losing 6 symbols. It was more just me wanting to make a jokey video about the 6 symbols we are losing for Attack on Titan. Well, at least the first set. Who knows what's going to happen in the future. And so I thought I'd go live today because I've been going live with Afternoon Tea over the articles in the past and talk about why we were told we lost these 6 symbols and also why and also take a look at this article to see what they're saying will be happening in the future with these articles, with these symbols, if that makes sense. So, hello Matt, thanks for joining me. Yes, so, as everyone is aware, in this game we have 12 symbols. Air, all, chaos, death, earth, evil, fire, good, life, order, void, and water. And each of these, if you ask the old heads, each of these symbols has a very distinct and unique personality about them and a symbol identity. But if you ask a new head, such as myself, what each of these symbols' individual identity is, they can't really tell you. I don't really know any new player that could tell you that water is supposed to be the defense symbol, that chaos is supposed to be the check hacking symbol. Fire is the burn symbol because, it's fire. But I don't really know any newer players that are that understand the symbol roles as well as the old heads. And I think letting these symbols have their highlights through attunement and by not having as many in the set does allow for an establishment of symbol identity. Now, before people start jumping down my throat that I'm towing the company line, I'm a yes man, and that I like this, I'm going to come to my personal feelings on this later on. That is just me saying that symbol, I'm trying to be objective here. I will do like an editorial personal feeling at the end. We've got Jacob saying that new players are considering quitting over this article. The idea of the game is to have sets that symbols play, make sure. Yes, Bushi Road is the biggest thing I have heard this Bushi Road is the one I've heard this compared to the most, where you'll be introduced to tribes and tactics and then they won't just not see support for sets among sets among sets. And that does kind of make sense. As we go through the article, what symbols do well? Symbols allow for more identity. They are very unique in this game for building your deck around, and it does allow for cards to feel more bespoke to their symbols. But at the same time, trying to accommodate all 12 symbols equally does lead to some cards that don't encompass exactly what they're don't encompass all the symbols. For example, Battle or Release has water, but what about Battle or Release says it's a defensive card? It has death, it has earth, that makes sense with the damage, that makes sense with what it's doing there. But the water symbol on Battle or Release feels off. It's not a defensive card, it in no way has breaker, it has a decent mid block to be fair, but it is not a defensive card. The biggest defensive thing about it is it replaces itself in your hand, and to me that is not that's still just more offensive than defensive the way that Battle or Release plays. I was going to bring this up later on the line, but apparently I'm going to bring it up now. It just got that there. That's what I just said, Matt. But so what symbols don't do well, and what we part of what we were told is that it restricts design space, and what they're looking to do now is expand design space further. They're looking for ways that cards can have more identity. This would be a much better argument if we wanted a 300 card set where you could literally have 25 cards for each symbol, but we'll come to that at another time. But that does kind of make sense. Allowing cards to have the more singular identity through attunement, allowing these symbols to shine, is a lot better. And not restricting design by saying this card has these 3 symbols, therefore it can only do these things. By basically going, okay, this set is going to revolve around these symbols, and go from there. Now, they did bring up that going through challenges and stuff, it has been proven that they can do products that don't support all 12 symbols and it still be a good thing. I don't think that's the takeaway you should be taking from Challenger. Using Challenger as a supplement for sets and basically saying, okay, this set had these symbols, so our 2 Challenger decks are going to have these, means that 1, you're prioritizing your symbols, and 2, you're just restricting the design space on your Challengers. So if we're seeing Air, Life, Chaos, Death, Air, Chaos, Death, Fire, Life, and Order in Attack on Titan, does that mean that we can immediately assume that the MHA Challenger decks are going to be all Earth, Water, Good, Evil, Void? Because you've just said that all 12 symbols will get support, and for season 3 of competitive to have support on all 12 symbols, that would be my immediate takeaway, that the challenge deck is going to have them here, and where the first 6 set of symbols are going to be getting 50 cards each. Well, there's the infinity symbol. Let's say they get 40 cards each. Then in the challenges, they're only going to get 20, which is a bit weird. If my point's coming across. Challengers spoke to those symbols, known value boxes, different stuff. But yeah, Bushy Road example. It's an interesting choice, and fair play to the community. The community have taken this on the chin like a champ. When I came back from the summit, this was the biggest thing I was worried about. I was expecting riots in the streets. I expected pitchforks out. I expected people to be up in arms about losing symbols, especially how attached to symbols people are. Like, I messaged my friend Aaron, who we did an interview with, who is an Evil player. He hasn't played anything but Evil. And I messaged him immediately with his dropped going, are you okay? How do you feel about the game now you lost Evil? I was like, it's not great. I still have stuff I can play with Shigaraki and Toga through attunement, but losing Death was a big blow. I messaged Nathan James my video saying that Earth is going, and he just immediately messaged back going, at least I've still got Fire. So the community has been great with this. It has not been immediate doomsaying, and I am so proud of this community for taking this on the chin. This is a massive change, a massive risk, and this community has done well to not immediately go doomsaying and immediately go, oh, the game's ruined. I understand what Jacob's saying in chat, which is on the little box, that this is pushing away some new players. That is very unfortunate, and it is a risk because some people are coming in because of the symbols, and having attunement then losing 6 symbols is a massive thing. All 12 symbols will still get support. They made this very, very clear. there'll still be ways we've got like the promos where we see heroes, Suicide Squad, Zekai, but the big, yeah, I would not be surprised if people up in arms. I'm very surprised that they're not. This was my top concern. Achievement I was fine with. Backups are probably my next big concern. But again, I'm nowhere near as concerned. It was like, this is where backups are. This is where my concern for losing 6 symbols were. It was much, much higher. But why did we lose these 6 symbols is the big question. What went through the design process that we had to lose these symbols? And it is to go back and to be going through something that I have talked about recently during the podcast. It's something that I've started saying a lot more. It's to make a bespoke set. It is to take the world of Attack on Titan and say, what do we need to change the game? What do we need to change in the game to make it fit into the Attack on Titan world? And the way that this was told to us is that in the world of Attack on Titan, it is a small cluster of humanity, the last of humanity, trapped behind their walls, fighting for their lives against these massive, monstrous creatures. And they're limited. They're limited in space. They're limited in their actions. They're limited in their resources. So why aren't we? In Attack on Titan, one of the biggest things that comes out is that Armin wants to see the ocean. They don't have that much access to big bodies of water. They've got their lakes, they've got stuff like that. But so they still have water, but the water symbol is gone because they've never seen the ocean. So it made sense within this set that the water symbol went because they don't have access to the ocean. It's part of the thing. They lack. Part of the driving force for Armin and stuff like that in the show is he wants to see the ocean. So let's take the water symbol out there and give him that incentive. In terms of Attack on Titan, good and evil don't really exist. It is survival. It is political order. It is the Titans that are acting on pure instinct. They're not malicious. Some of them are malicious, but Titans in general are not malicious, and everyone is kind of just doing what they feel is best to survive. So the concepts of good and evil aren't really as much a thing in the bigger aspects of the Attack on Titan story. It is more political order and political chaos. If that makes sense, please do tell me if I'm wrong. I'm not the biggest Attack on Titan fan. I can only go off what I remember and how it was explained to us. The Earth one was a bit weird that we lost it, but again, it's talking about how they don't have access to the majority of the planet. They are in a small, confined space, so they don't have access to the wider planet. They don't have access to the wider mountains. They don't have access to the wider plains. And if they do try to go into them, they have to fight their way through the Titans. So restricting the Earth symbol is on there. Same with All and Void. They just don't really fit into the world of Attack on Titan. So trying to cram them in, especially through their symbol identity, would restrict the design space of those cards. So they came to the idea of, why not just remove them for this set? And it's not a new thing. Apparently, some people were saying online that Sabretooth used to do it. They used to reduce the number of symbols in a set. And I think it's very interesting that this is the risk they're going to take on top of all the other risks. Attack on Titan is looking to be a massive shake-up into the game as part of the onboarding system. I do think that, as people have said, going from a 1 symbol or 2 symbol card and then going into these 3, 4, 5 symbols is going to be a massive onboarding system, and it's going to be very hard for their mental load to comprehend. So I think organized play needs to be a tier system. It needs to be a lot more focus around casual locals play for these new players, so they can do their Attack on Titan demo, they can get their cards, and then they're not immediately walking into standard and being hit over the head with all these massive cards that have got these free symbols that they're not used to, that aren't attuned, that they're not used to, and that they're going to have to go from there. So so starting off with localized spotlight and letting a player get used to the game before moving on to standard and going to more competitive side of the game makes a lot of sense to me personally. Now, personal opinion, I don't like this. I understand why they're doing it. It makes sense. When you're making a bespoke set, I can really do it. Let's see what Matt's going to say before I go a bit deeper into this. I'm curious where the concept of what symbol best fits this world. However, I personally don't like the Earth symbols being overly literal. No Earth symbol in Star Trek because it's in space. I hope that Attuned does the heavy lifting it needs to. Yeah. So Attuned meaning that we get access to 120 cards per free symbol character, as opposed to like the 40 cards each symbol got last time. So the ratios pretty much work out the same. If you look at Girl Power, Chaos got about 47 cards in Girl Power, so if they get 47 cards in Attack on Titan, the ratios stay the same. It's just kind of changed. But yeah, symbols it's more symbols to do with their identity, but I get where you're coming from. Symbols being too overly literal, it will be a massive loss. And if we don't get any Earth in in Star Trek, that'll be a really telling point. But they do travel to planets, I guess. But back to what I was saying, this is a huge risk that the company are taking. This is a massive thing that they're hoping that we can get past, and it looks like most of the people are quite happy to move past it. But it is a massive risk. If this doesn't pay off, Attack on Titan may flop harder than Crimson Rampage. You have cut out 6 symbols, some of people's favorite symbols in there. You got the good symbol in there, you got the Earth symbol in there, you've got evil, which a lot of people got good. It's a very big risk, and I do respect the risk, but we love this game. We love the symbols, and it's the same thing I had when they were doing the split rounds. Telling people your symbol does not get support this set does not feel good. I'm in a subjective good place because Chaos is still there. But I did the thought experiment. If I go back and if someone says to me, "We got a 300 card set, amazing. How many Chaos cards am I getting? 0. The fuck? There's 300 cards there. What do you mean I'm getting 0 cards for my favorite symbol? That is so nuts." And that's how some people will come across it. It's very objectively, I can see where they're coming from, but looking at it through a subjective lens, it's just so like, yes, we have the Infinity cards, and I miss Mina 1 more every day with these Infinity cards, but I don't like it. I don't. I don't like limiting. I don't like limiting what people can play. Attuned is great, and yes, it gives us access to more options in terms of symbols our characters can play. So every character will be getting new cards in Attack on Titan. That's good. But by removing 6 cards that you've just said have their unique identity, will we be seeing less defensive cards? Because as Matt said, these symbols all have their identity, and if you're taking it literally, yeah, they don't have access to water, but they have access to a lot of defense, and their defense is a wall that's made out of earth, and water is the defensive card. You can spin it so these symbol identities make sense. So, what is going to be the defensive symbol in Attack on Titan? Because if you ask any of the old heads, they will tell you water is the defensive symbol, void is the control symbol. So, what are going to be our tactically defensive symbols? If you look at the raid on the walls, where they're putting nets down, where they're herding titans into tactically advantageous positions, that is water and void stuff. The fact that we're not seeing stuff like evil, there are some very evil stuff that does go on in Attack on Titan, but it's all for survival. Life and death had to be in the set. Simple as. Life and death are like the biggest things in Attack on Titan. So many people die so quickly all the time, and they're all fighting for their life. So that, to me, makes perfect sense, and that should be the focal point of the set. But I don't know how Richard feels with this. I haven't spoken to Richard about this. I'm not a fan of cutting out the 12 symbols. You could easily have made 25 cards per set and just moved it around a little bit. But that's my personal opinion. Objectively, I like this. I think that it will make the game a lot more simple for onboarding. I think explaining the game might be a bit better to newer players that haven't experienced this game before, and we can slowly indoctrinate them into other symbols and explain it as we go along. To players who are just joining and learning the game, this absolutely sucks, because they've just learned symbols, they've just learned how to build decks, they've just learned all this stuff, and just as they're starting to get a hang on it, it all gets changed in front of them, which is good because they're still learning, but bad because it kind of makes them feel like the time they've invested in the game has been for nothing. I'm sure Jacob can back me up on that as a star owner, that the new players would feel very frustrated that they've just learned this entire system, just learned the symbols, just learned how to build a deck, and the entire rug has just been pulled underneath them. Jacob, currently in the middle of a move, but I have to reread the article critically. I think there's an argument to be made that the premise is misguided at best. Yeah, that's just it. It's a huge risk, and if UVS were saying that we are doing this, if it doesn't work, we're closing up the shop, then this would be the biggest of mistakes. But what they're asking us to do is try it, see how it goes, and if it doesn't work, then we just go back to supporting all 12 symbols. The best thing I would say to do with all these changes is treat it like Refresh. Does anyone remember Refresh? I've just done a whole video on the fact nobody remembers Refresh, and it only came out in Jetburn. I think it was Jetburn. It was a keyword. It was introduced on one character, and then it disappeared because it was seen as not necessary. It didn't really add anything to the game. So, if a tune doesn't work, it'll get the refresh treatment. If not supporting all 12 symbols doesn't work, it will get the refresh treatment. UVS will always choose the option that is best for growing this game, and we as players will always support the option that is best for us playing the game. That's how UVS gets their data. So if we, as a player base, like we did with the split rounds for draft, give the feedback that we don't like this system, and that's shown through events, that's shown through discussions, that's shown through industry standards, it'll change. But I don't want to discourage UVS from taking risks like this. UVS need to keep taking these risks. They want to be the best card game on the market. And to me, I want them to do that as well. I want the game I support to be the best. And I think that UVS has that potential. And the more risk they take, look at the 2006 demo decks. If you try to play 2006 demo deck now, gameplay wise, at its core, it's the exact same. But the way the game plays has advanced so much in 18 years that the decks would be kind of unplayable. But the game needs to grow, and by taking risks like this, they can assess what kind of things they need to grow. This will have undergone testing, and I know Attack on Titan has had a lot of issues behind the scene. We've all heard the rumor, but I'm not going to sit here and say that taking a risk like this is not a good thing. As a player, I'm not the biggest fan of it. I don't like it. But the fact that UVS is willing to take this risk is huge. Not a fan of that, Jacob? Risks are very important in business, and these are all calculated risks. I think it's very, very cool that UVS now has this goal. For the last 2-3 years, we have not had a purpose. We have not taken risks in the game. The sets have all been very safe, or they've kind of power crept a little bit. We had set 1, then we had set 2 and 3 and 4, and then set 5, and then set 6, and then we had Yu Hakusho, and then we've had set 7. So the power is starting to creep back into the game. But I think taking risks like this is very, very cool. A 300 card set may not be the best time to implement all these, but it's great, I guess, to kind of like treat it like an allergy test where you get all the pins pricked in and see what we get the reaction to. Because by making all these changes, they can get a lot of information very quickly. Am I making sense? Or am I just completely and utterly chatting shit? Who knows? But personally, I'm not a fan of the change. I know a lot of people aren't a fan of the change. Will I defend the change? Probably. Will I constructively comment on it? 100%. Because I'm on board for getting more players into this game. That is my goal now. After hearing new players saying that all the negativity on Discord and on Facebook was what kind of turned them down when they were first doing it is not great, and seeing all the negativity almost turn them off the game, it makes me think how many people got the demo, saw the community's like outrage to a small change, and then immediately tried to back off and like disappear. I don't want new players to think that we hate this game, because we don't. We absolutely love this game. I agree with this is a vaccine if it was a side set, but it's close to, yeah. This is a huge set, and cutting 6 symbols out of a huge set is very weird when you're talking about freeing up design space. It's kind of weird that it came across that way, but also still quite understandable. We've got the achievement in here, so this is the best time to do it. By giving us 120, giving us 40 to 120 card per character is very, very cool, because it means that the number of characters that I get in there, the number of characters are getting is the same. I can't really think of a single character that isn't getting any support. Can anyone think of a character that doesn't have at least one of these symbols? Maybe this has been in the works for a while, and it's kind of like characters have been tailor-made that we don't have a good, evil, void character. Matt saying, you know what? A tune in Clash decks would boost sales of the products because more Players might actually want the card. So clash decks to me should never be appealing to established players. Your clash deck should be your starter deck. Established players should look at it and go, I want singles from this, but we shouldn't be in a overhaul Mirio where there are no clash decks available to newer players because we have bought them all out. I think clash decks should ideally be made up of a lot of the cards that are in the set and just a couple of cards that are more geared towards newer players. Ball might has chaos, so nice try. Hood? Does Hood get no support? Does anyone play Hood? But Ball might has chaos, so that was a nice try. Hood does not get any support. Wow. That's fine. Nobody plays Hood. This is where everyone's going to play Hood now. Oh, no. What have I done? This is where people are going to go to all the regionals this season, playing Hood. So it's just going to be like a mass protest, and people are just going to be playing nothing. Okay, I'm going to have to let's pull this back up and let's take a look. We're gonna go on a deep dive. Where's my window capture? There it is. Window capture. Let's turn the symbols off. Okay. Universus.cards. Because if I don't use Universus.cards, half the people that watch this will tune out. Advanced search options. We want characters that have all, earth, good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Missed evil. There we go. Search. So let's see how many characters do we lose that actually matter to the meta. Rodon's still in there. Nagant's still in. Jiro's just still in. Tug of Form was almost out. It does seem like the later sets have been designed to keep at least one symbol in. Hood matters. Why would Hood matter when you've got woman? You've got woman right there, Jacob. You got. You know, you're disrespecting the woman. May Hatsume's still in. Why did I go back up? Oh, because that's the alt art. Okay. Matt Lady, Dabby 2 is fine. Fresh cut grass is fine. Anya Forger is fine. Vexalia is fine. Not's fine. Jester is not there? Where's Jester? Yo, Dubbers, where's Jester? Bowie's fine. Chu's fine. Genkai's fine. Ihei's fine. We'll find someone. We'll find someone that matters. My wife has been playing my woman deck this season. See, that's how good that's why it should be woman. We will find someone meta relevant that this matters to. Jester, I'm more worried why Jester wasn't there than why that. Order fine. Younger Toguro is fine on death. Yusuke is fine on life. Spike's fine. Faye's fine. Bash is fine. Nicholas is fine. Hound Dog should not be on here. Chaco. Best Genist is fine. Darby Endeavor. Gentle Criminal's fine. Hawks was close. Hood got wrecked. A moment of silence for Hood. J-Ro came close. Yo, Hound Dog, right? Ryuku's fine. Shoto 4 is fine. Kami's fine. Inasa's fine. We'll find someone. We will find someone. This is now the stream. Godzilla -1 is fine. Eraserhead 2 is fine. Ah, Ojiro 2. Does anyone care about Ojiro 2 anymore? He was meta relevant in the past. Eraserhead 1 isn't standard, so it doesn't matter. Eraserhead 2 is not fine? Oh, that's Eraserhead 1. Oh. Eraserhead 2 has water, void, and all. No. Eraserhead 2 is not fine. We found it. We found it. We found the one we're looking for. Because Eraserhead 2 is pretty meta playable. Kirishima's fine. Fat Gum, no! We did it! We found. Oh no, Fat Gum's got fire. We're good. Fat Gum's got fire. We're good. Rapper's fine. Yuhojo. Yeah. Yuhojo's fine. Yuhojo, nobody plays anyway apart from Mike last year. Even Lock's fine. What? Toya? Does anyone care about Toya? Void, Evil All? I guess? Maybe? Bubblegirl's fine. Toga 2 is fine. Toya's neat, but meh. Moonfish is fine. Muscular was close. Muscular's doing better off than most people. Twice is fine. Compress is clinging. Magni is fine. Eraserhead 3 is fine. Oh. The Chibis are fine. Eraserhead 2 and Ojiro 2 take a massive hit. The issue is less these characters don't get support and more. In order to make these new visions feasible, you probably not going to see any cards without a tune symbol, which was fundamentally changed deck building, which could be for the worst. This is also assuming that the characters stay with 3 symbols. This is a very good point. If attunement is probably going to be very rampant within Attack on Titan, we have seen a couple of the character cards not have attunement, which kind of makes sense. The Infinity symbol cards don't have attunement, but apart from that, every card we've seen has got attunement. And like I said, if the symbols aren't getting support, we can't guarantee anything anymore. This is a huge change to the fundamental principle of the game. Characters may no longer have the 3 symbols. They could be 1 symboled or 2 symboled, but then again, we might see ones have more. An Infinity character would be pretty cool. But yeah, it's also, as you're saying, not about these characters. Just because these characters are getting support doesn't mean they're getting the right support, if that makes sense. So let's go to Coda. Coda walks away with 2 symbols, but is he going to get ally support? Is he going to get what he needs on these symbols? Let's look at Endeavor. Endeavor 2 is going to have the fire symbol only. So is he going to get enough support purely on the fire symbol that matters to his abilities? What we have been seeing a lot with things like Girl Power and stuff like that, there are cards in there that are specifically designed to help past characters, which has been very, very cool. It's also a bit of a drawback because if you want to, you kind of feel like you have to know about those characters to do it, so that does hurt onboarding. But it's about making sure that, yes, the characters are supported, but that they're supported also in the correct way. It isn't just, oh, here are generic vanilla and French vanilla cards that do things. You want cards that kind of help progress the meta state. So if we go back to advanced search, let's see if I can just refresh it. Nope. Oh, they've added a tune to this as well. So let's get rid of these here. Let's get rid of that, and then by set, let's just go to girl power, and then let's get past the main set. So Froppy is one of the last ones. Woman, yeah. So now we're looking at cards here that are all designed to boost up past characters. We're seeing Blue Flame Eruption, which has got the Dabby 3 symbols. Then we're also seeing Blue Flame Flare and Blue Flame Surge, which only share a couple of symbols. Like we've got a Dabby card here that has no Chaos, but then we're also seeing Dabby cards that have got Void. We're seeing Tokiyami cards, which share symbols with Tokiyami 2. We're seeing Eat My Sticky Balls, which is a set 1 card. We're seeing a lot of support through these 3 symbols for characters using those 3 symbols. But then we're also seeing with the Dabby cards that yes, they are supporting the character through 1 or 2 symbols, but they're also giving support to the other symbols as well through that symbol identity. So, it's what you're saying there, Jacob. It's about it. The article says it limits creative control, but at the same time, it sort of allows more symbols to get more support and get more help. Because a card can be defensive and burny, so why shouldn't it have the water fire symbol? It can be defensive and burn at the same time. It kind of does make sense. Attuned is a great solution and does change deck building in a huge way. And the issue that people have brought up, with if you've got one card that's attuned and it's a complete and utter bomb, that it will be basically it has to be run at all those symbols, and it makes one symbol a lot more powerful than the others. But then you've got cards like Battle or Release, which has 3 symbols, is a staple on those 3 symbols. And personally, to me, if this was Earth attuned, would not be as playable as it is. The fact it has Death and Water and can be used in things like Younger Toguro, that it can be used in things like Asui and stuff like that. If it was Earth attuned, it would still definitely see play. But Younger Toguro couldn't bust it. Same with Mob Strike. If Mob Strike was Order attuned, then it would probably not have got banned, because it was things like Younger Toguro that busted it. Yes, Tim Keith did win with Endeavor, but he was using Mob Strike for its intended purpose. It was using its symbol identity. It wasn't as powerful in Endeavor as it was. Jesus. Never mind. Got helicopters going on. So it was still very powerful in Endeavor, but it wasn't as you didn't need to block it as much early or interact with it as much early as you did with Younger Toguro. Mob Strike allowed Younger Toguro before the errata to essentially almost commit turn 2s, whereas in Endeavor it was a lot harder to pull off, and it was more just a tool for the symbol. Again, I might be chatting completely out my ass. I've been doing this for quite a while, but personally, I like attunement. I think attunement is cool. I think attunement is something the game has needed, and it's going to make looking at symbol identities a lot better. The 12 symbols not getting support in every single product is a good risk, It is something that we're very interested to see how it's implemented, but it is something I'm very cautious of, and it's something personally I'm not a fan of. I don't think it should have been done on a set like this. We already understood that with challenger sets, we weren't going to be getting support on every single symbol because challengers are limited to the symbols that they can play. And yeah, leading challenges do tend to lead to some symbols getting a bit more support than others. Like when we got Trigun and Cowboy Bebop, and then we got Yu Hakusho, Earth and Life and Fire and Death were eating very well. But then we got Critical Role and Chaos got some more, and we did get to see some good air, but Death was still doing very, very well for itself in terms of cards. So it's a hard one to say. We got there isn't a single fire card in Godzilla outside of Mecha Godzilla. Yeah, that's an excellent point. But challenge decks we never expected to represent all 12 symbols, and trying to represent all 12 symbols in a challenge deck would be a mistake. You would have to do a lot of changing about, and you'd have to essentially be very, very weird with how you did it. Tuned is very cool. I think it could be a huge innovation. However, if it becomes that's the big thing. That's what a lot of people are saying is Attuned is a great addition to the game, but it should not be the primary deck building tool. It should be an additional thing. It should be like, oh, I can. This is my main symbol, and these are my tuned. Because if we move to Attuned in 3 years, well, 4 years because we got Yu and Girl Power. In 4 years, we won't need a main symbol anymore in Standard. We'll just be using Attuned symbols, and I don't personally think that's the way to go. I like the main symbol. I like my deck having a purpose that kind of follows that line. I do like the idea of splashing in a bit of seasoning with other symbols for attunement. Let's see. Hello, Cosmic Starfish. I suppose if they intended to have a Tekken Type be a 2-part, that was so. When we did the summit and my notes, I did write down that I thought this was going to be similar to Return to Ravnica, which happened in the mid 2010s. For those that are, did it happen in mid 2010s? No, early 2010s. Jeez, I'm old. For those that are unaware, in MTG there is a plane called Ravnica which hosts guilds. They've been there 3-4 times now. And when I was playing Magic, we did a Return to Ravnica, which comprised of 3 sets. In the first set, it was all about the first 5 guilds. It was about 5 guilds. In the second set, it was about the other 5 guilds. And in the third set, all the guilds were brought together to essentially inhabit Ravnica, and we got exposed to it like that. Which at the time was very, very cool. And the same thing, people did not like that at the time. Thanks for stopping by, Jacob. But I thought that this was going to be a similar situation as well, and I even mentioned it. But I'm not. Nothing was confirmed about the next set, so I don't know. Oh, hi Richard. Hi Car Goblin. Yeah, so I have no idea what is going to come in October, November, whenever we see Attack on Titan 2. I can't quote or even know. This isn't I can't tell you. This is a I don't know situation now. We are coming to the limits of what the people in the summit were told, and I love that. But the way I would look at it is if we were told that the Attack on Titan sets were being made bespoke to their world, and that these 6 symbols were chosen because they encompass that world, then if we look at Attack on Titan after the cards we get given, we may be able to infer what symbols are going to be in there. The biggest thing I would say is I wouldn't expect life, death, air, or fire to go anywhere, because life and death are the pinnacles of Attack on Titan. They are the main underlining things. Death is very big in Attack on Titan, and trying to survive and trying to keep your life is the other one. Fire, fighting, weapons, damage is a big thing, and maneuverability. The entire thing of Attack on Titan is it's far in the air. You've got the trees, you've got the buildings, you've got the speed and the maneuverability. Air is a massive thing. Now, I do believe the later we go down the line, we do lose that political order and chaos, and we do come more into a more moral boundary. I'm not too sure. I did not watch or read a lot of Attack on Titan, but if we are talking about, if we're looking at Attack on Titan through what resources they have and how the world interacts with our game, there's at least 4 symbols on there that I don't expect to disappear for set 2. There's no real reason they could justify bringing in all and void over keeping life and death. Fire is very Attack on Titan because to me, fire is use your resources once. So it's not about order. Is not about fair, because if order was fair, then capitalism wouldn't exist. There's a Brennan Lee Mulligan. There's a Brennan Lee Mulligan. There's a Brennan Lee Mulligan impression for you. But order in Attack on Titan is through the political side of it. You got the military order of we have our regiments. You've got the survey scouts. You've got the hierarchy. You've got the royalty moving down. You've got this. What basically people living inside certain walls have got a certain level of influence and wealth, and the people that live further out more towards the Titans are poorer. The gap is big, and it's designed to be that way. It is political order. Judgment, okay then. Yeah, it is about. It's very the order and chaos is very political. The chaos is when the order is broken. So. Basically, when the Colossal Titan shows up, they're in order. They're happy. The Titans can't get in. They're sealed off. They have their resources that they're used to. They have their little lives. They have a sense of normality, which is very different than our sense of normality. And that is their order. They know where their place is in this ecosystem. And then the Colossal Titan shows up. Sorry, Colossus Titan. We're doing the manga, not the anime. The Colossus Titan shows up and literally kicks down the door. He brings chaos with him as he destroys that door, as the Armored Titan comes in and destroys the next door. And it is raining chaos on their order. It is 2 sides of the same coin. That is where the Chaos and Order comes in. While training up to be in the army, you have the Order. You have the sense of being again. And then the Colossus Titan shows up again, raining more chaos, raining more havoc. You have the fact that you find out Eren can turn into a Titan. That breaks the preconceived notion of what a Titan is. It breaks the order that they're known. It is more chaos. Chaos and order were great to keep over something like good and evil, because the entire world is built around the greater good, about keeping order, about letting X amount of people die, not because it's evil, because it maintains order. And that is just so good. So I don't know much about set 2 or what. I know its name, which I can't go into, but I don't think the Attack on Titan manga is going to shift that much between set 1 and set 2, that these 6 symbols will be phased out. I hope they are. Don't get me wrong, I hope they are. I hope the next set has the 6 symbols, and we go into season 3 with a completely different meta, and we all 12 symbols get some support, so that we're going into season 3 with a more balanced playing field. I personally don't think it's going to happen from the way that it was described as to why these 6 symbols were chosen. I would also like to think that just because this set is the season doesn't mean that the characters will only have these symbols. Like one, yeah, that'd be an interesting one as well. My only issue with that would be drafting, but if everything's attuned, I guess that's kind of fine. Yeah. If we get it's just say we get Eren Yeager and he is Death, Earth, and Fire. That would be cool. That would be very, very cool because we still get to see Earth support. He still gets access to all the other stuff, and it allows you to go. I'm going to play an Earth Eren, but using Attack on Titan attune to fill in the gaps using his actual cards. That's cool. But that does not make sense for drafting. As Jacob pointed out, we're not guaranteed to get 3 symbol characters. If we only get 1 or 2 symbol characters, taking one of those symbols and making it a symbol that isn't in the set limits your drafting capability a lot. If you have a character in draft and say I get Sasha, and Sasha is a air, life, and fire character, and you get Eren, and you go back to the example of Death, Earth, and Fire, then not only are we fighting over the fire attune cards in the drafting pool, I have access to 1 more symbol that you don't, which is a huge issue for you. It makes your drafting experience a lot harder because you're fighting over 2 symbols where I can use 3, and you can. I know draft isn't that big of a thing, but you got to remember we were supposed to be drafting a lot more this organized play season than we are. So these sets are more designed with drafting in mind, and we as a player base kind of derailed that. So when looking through these sets, it's always good to pull out the old draft lens and see how these sets would draft. Because my entire theory is the common and uncommon characters we're going to see in Attack on Titan were designed for draft. I think that's an absolute, pretty much a safe bet to go with. I was going to build a deck, but I've spent an hour literally talking about this topic because you guys have been great. We've had some brilliant back and forth, and I really think this is really, really cool. 6C3 does give us 20 possible combinations there. Yeah. You do get 20 possible combinations, but what I'm saying is if there are 8 people sat at this table and the majority of them open 3 symbol characters that all are attuned, and you all open the one that has 1 character that isn't tuned, chances are you're going to be fighting for a lot of your support because there's only 6 symbols in this set. So when drafting, you're going to be fighting for a lot of the same symbols. So it's going to be great for drafting because it's going to mean that people have to improve their drafting skills very quickly and listen to what's being signaled. And when choosing your drafting character becomes a lot better because you can kind of shift, but that's kind of always been the case with drafting. But I think I don't see it. I know what you're saying, Matt, with the fact that we could see some characters off symbol, but I really don't think it will. It'd be cool if we saw some infinity symbol characters that have no kind of real alignment, and you just choose a symbol. But then, how does that work with attuned? Because the infinity symbol isn't a symbol, so you can't attune to it unless it has infinity attuned. And that would make infinity attuned a thing. We cracked it. There's an infinity. we've got the Infinity Attune symbol because there's an Infinity Attune character that basically says choose you can build this under any one symbol and then you can use Infinity Attuned on it, even though you could use Infinity anyway. But the Infinity Attune is there just for that flavor. We did it. We found the copium. Oh, right, guys. I'm going to. So, sorry, the infinity symbol, this little bad boy here at the bottom, is not a symbol. It is. It used to be considered that it is every symbol, but then it made some characters that care about symbols too powerful. Like Teamwork. If you had a card that had infinity in it, and you played Teamwork, all you needed was an infinity card because you had all 12 symbols in play. But so the rules would change that infinity is not a symbol. Yeah. So if you had a character which was the infinity symbol, you couldn't play any attuned symbol with it apart from infinity attuned. Now, take away that you could play any infinity card with it anyway. Flavor wise, it makes sense that why infinity attuned would be a thing purely for that one infinity attuned character. Because infinity says you can play this where you can play any other symbol, but your character doesn't have a symbol, it has infinity. So infinity attuned lets you play it there. Exactly. It's the highest of copium. 100% this is the highest of copium. But it is the only thing that my head now will make sense as to why we have infinity attuned. Right, it is 2 o'clock. I have got to get ready for the school run. Big shout out to Jacob, Matt, and Cosmic Starfish for talking to me in chat. This has been absolutely huge. I was not expecting it to be hour. I wanted to make a Jin void list that would make some people upset. But I will catch you all next time. We'll probably be live Sunday, but I need to check with Richard because I think he might have something else going on. I'll catch you all in a bit, and thanks for being around. Bye.